Hello students, in previous part we have discussed about different types of hydrocarbon compounds as well as different covalent bond. Now we have seen that carbon produce a huge number of compounds. Why the carbon produce a huge number of compounds? This is due to the two main property of carbon. One is tetravalency and the second one is catenation. Next topic, in this topic we will discuss about will you be my friend. This statement was said by carbon. Why? Because carbon is a most familiar element which combined with other elements and produce a long chain. Will you be my friend? As we know that the carbon is very familiar, or you can say that common element which combined with other element and produce a long chain of compound, such like as when carbon reacts with hydrogen, it produces a hydrocarbon compound, such as when carbon reacts with hydrogen and produce hydrocarbon compound. Clear? Which we have already discussed. Now one word is, what do you mean by heteroatoms? Heteroatoms. There are some elements such like as oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, chlorine and bromine, which react with a hydrocarbon compound and replace one by one hydrogen atom, but they maintain the valency of carbon. That those atoms are called heteroatoms. The elements such as oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine and bromine as well as sulfur, when react with hydrocarbon compounds and replace one by one hydrogen atom, such that the valency or valence of carbon remains same. That the valency of carbon remains same. Such type of elements or atoms are called heteroatoms. You can say that the atoms as well as elements. Such type of atoms are called heteroatoms. We'll take an example of heteroatoms such like as we take the example of methane. Methane chemical formula is CH4. And if we draw in bond structure, carbon is bonded four side with a hydrogen atom. But when chlorine react with this type of hydrocarbon compound, it reacts with chlorine. Chlorine is a gas which is found diatomic. Then one chlorine react with this methane and one replace the hydrogen atom. Then the reaction will produce CH3Cl plus HCl. Means there are two atoms of chlorine. One react with CH3Cl, one H is replaced and produce HCl. This, if you draw in bond structure CH3Cl, means three-sided C bonded with hydrogen and one towards the chlorine. So the valency remains same. Chlorine is, we can say that chlorine is an heteroatoms. We have already discussed the atoms such as oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, chlorine and bromine. When they react with the hydrocarbon compounds, they replaces hydrogen atom one by one, such that the valency of carbon remains same. Such like as the valency of carbon remains same in this also. This is called, this chlorine is called heteroatoms. Some of them heteroatoms are pronunciation or pronounced later and some are forwardly. The substance which the pronounced substances are known as suffix and earlier known as prefix. So there are two, chlorine and bromine. These are the two heteroatoms, are also known as halogen as well as prefix. It means the sound of these heteroatoms will become before the hydrocarbon compounds. Chlorine react with heteroatoms, or you can say that, sorry, chlorine react with hydrocarbon, it is known as chloro. Same as bromine, pronounced bromo. So this is the chemical formula. We have seen that CH4, methane. Why it is called methane? Carbon is one. Meth. All are single bonded. Alkane. So we can say that methane. In this, carbon is one. Meth. And all are single bonded. We can say that methane. But chlorine and chlorine is also a prefix. Firstly, before methane we will call chloromethane. Why? Because chlorine and bromine, chlorine react with the hydrocarbon, pronounced chloro, bromine, bromo, but they are prefix. It means the pronunciation of this prefix will be come earlier or forwardly before the hydrocarbon compounds. So we can say that chloromethane. Same when we replace with bromine, CH4. Same, bromine also gases and it is diatomic. It react with CH3Br plus HBr, hydrogen bromide. This CH3, carbon bonded three side with hydrogen and one with bromine. So this is the chemical formula of bromo methane. Why it is bromo methane? Bromine is the prefix and bromine react with the hydrocarbon known as bromo. Methane, why it is called methane? Carbon is one and all are bonded single. Single bond are known as alkane. C1 met alkane, methane. This is the formula of bromomethane. What do you mean by heteroatoms? One more times. The atoms which combined with the hydrocarbon compounds and replace hydrogen atom one by one. But the valency of carbon remains same. Those atoms are known as heteroatoms. Those heteroatoms, example of heteroatoms are nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, chlorine and bromine. But out of these heteroatoms, chlorine and bromine, those are also halogen as well as prefix. It means the pronunciation of chlorine chloro, bromine bromo will come forwardly or earlier than the hydrocarbon compound. In next part we will discuss some about functional group.